We're back, Husker fans, with another episode of Generation Red, the kettle corn of Husker fan podcast, where we try to be sweet, but at times we get salty. It is the 21st anniversary of 9/11. 21 years ago today, the world changed forever. And not to minimize that, but in many ways, as of today, the Huskers football team's world has changed quite a bit too. For a bunch of 18 to 24-year-old kids, their lives are not going to be the same after today, as Scott Frost was fired shortly this morning or later this afternoon after the debacle in, or as I call it, the defensive dingleberry that was the game against Georgia Southern, in which Nebraska lost 45-42 after a valiant effort by the offense. Go figure. Casey Thompson was money for 4 quarters, and just wasn't enough because the defense wasn't. They got robbed, literally, by the Georgia Southern team, who decided they figured out what the weaknesses were, and they just spent the entire game exploiting them, while defensive coordinator Eric Schnatter couldn't figure out what the fuck to do about it. Which I'm not exactly sure why Frosthead is the first one on the chopping block. I think Eric Schnatter's should be on the same side, but I think Trev Alberts alluded to that a little bit in his press conference earlier today. Wish we had some footage of it, but we don't. We're going to spend the next few minutes kind of recapping the game, and then after that, we will take some time and open it up to you. Question and answer period. Whatever you want to take. If you want to be a part of the stream, you are more than welcome to. I will post a link down in the live chat of this show so that you can jump in on the stream with us. So anyway, while I come up with that link and copy it so I can post it in the chat later, and because I'm terrible at running streams, Scott, why don't you give the folks kind of your overall impressions of last night? We sat next to each other the whole time, and you just kind of had to laugh when you got toward the end of the game, right?
Yes. Husker Nation, we are at a big change for the college football program. As I stated in the comment section of the Go Big Red cast live stream that I believe is still going right now, we are in the desert. We have just entered the desert. We have left the Egyptian enslavement, and we have now entered the desert, and what is supposedly supposed to be a promised land could potentially be 40 years of wandering around, which we've already pretty much done for the last 10 years. Yeah, it was quite a painful game to watch, but I was weirdly enough serene and calm and just kind of accepted it. Last week when I was watching the North Dakota game, there really wasn't a sense that we were going to lose that game. The way that I interpreted what I saw on the field was that we were going to win the game. Mm-hmm. And this was not the case this whole game. It felt like before kickoff, there was an atmosphere. The sun was coming out after a pretty much cloudy and rainy day. And I'm with my parents. I'm with my wife. I had just eaten a delicious meal with my wife and a few of her friends. And I truly felt good. And then kickoff happened. It just seemed right from the get-go when we just sputtered out on our first drive, went 3 and out, and then they went down and scored on us. I just knew. I was like, this is it. This is the game. And I think that's why I was able to just remain calm throughout the entire game. And if I wasn't calm, I was excited when we were doing things right. I was really excited to see our offense really take off and see some talents on our offense just once again prove their ability to be good. I've held some reservations with certain individuals up to this point because, we played against North Dakota. We played against Northwestern. Let's see how they continue to do, such as Anthony Grant or a Trey Palmer. Or Marcus Washington, Casey Thompson, etc. This game really did solidify for me that they are some dogs. They are some good They are some good talent that we've got going for us right now. But alas, when it came down to the final moments of the game, Georgia Southern pulled off the upset. And I did have to laugh at PSC Highlights, one of my favorite YouTube channels for keeping up with what's going on in the college football world, crazy game enders and etc. One of the top comments of the video that was essentially titled, Scott Frost is going to be packing his bags after this. And the top comment, I just had to laugh at it just out of pure, just pure nihilistic behavior. It was like, what was it? Nebraska almost pulled the upset on Georgia Southern. And
yeah.
And I just had to laugh at that because is that really where we're at in our program? I suppose so. But I want to save a lot of the things that we're going to talk about when it comes to Frost getting fired and Trev's comments and the college football world in general, Reddit, Twitter, everything that's been exploding in the last 6 hours. I'll save that, but I just want to commend Georgia Southern, the Eagles. They came into Memorial Stadium with a thirst for blood. The way that they looked like they knew they were going to win. There wasn't a single player that I could see down on that field, even though it was from a really high up perspective. It looked like they knew they were going to win. Their demeanor showed that they were going to win. And they did. Dad, what were your overall impressions of the game that we lost last night? Oh boy. Your microphone is...
Oops, I hit mute by accident when I thought I turned it on. My bad. Sorry,
no
folks.
Worries.
Yeah, my mouth is moving, but no words are coming out, right? My overall impressions are boiled down to one word on the defensive side, unprepared. They looked unprepared. Didn't look like they knew how to line up. Looked like the defensive backfield was constantly shifting around and everybody was pointing and screaming. Seemed like there were way too many Chiefs trying to tell everybody what to do. And then half the time when Georgia Southern would bust off a big play, they just barely get lined up. And we saw it from up there. One of those long runs that, thank God, Buford's really damn fast. Otherwise, that's a long touchdown. We saw it up there. And we don't know X's and O's, but we're like, there's a space right there. That's where we're going to run. And sure as shit, that's exactly where they ran the ball. Yeah. So unprepared is what I would say for the defense. Tenacious is the word I would give the offense. Holy cow.
This dog is freaking out.
Not my dogs.
Everything.
It's all good, man. It's all good. It's part of the organic. They're pissed off at Scott Frost too. So it's just the offense looked tenacious. I mean, they gave an A+ effort. I mean, would you have guessed that I don't want to bring up the other name, the number 2 with Verduzco on the sidelines coaching him would have been able to engineer a lot of those drives that tied the score over and over again and then eventually took a lead. I don't have a whole lot of confidence. I think Casey's a pretty damn good quarterback, and I think we've got some receivers that are just like their position coach, who is now their head coach, tenacious. Don't give a shit who's playing in front of them. They're going to beat them, and they're going to get the ball, and they're going to go get it. I was highly impressed with the receivers' output. I was highly impressed with Anthony Grant. A.J. Allen is going to be a beast. Don't be surprised, folks, if by the end of the season, Anthony Grant might be a little dinged and A.J. Allen's going to be the guy going for 140 a game. And which means you're probably going to see a couple of guys we don't want in the transfer portal go into the transfer portal, but who knows? Unprepared on defense, tenacious on offense. That would be the 2 words I would describe the game yesterday. What do you think? Do you think I'm off my rocker, or do you think that's a pretty good summation?
Nope, I think that's pretty good. I think our offense still has a lot left to be desired, especially once we get into these bigger name games. That'll be when I officially am able to make like a tried and true interpretation of what our offense brings to the table. Right. But I mean, the writing is on the wall with the defense.
Yeah.
Unprepared, physically immature. I just can't express how disappointing it is to see this defensive performance this year. I know I've said this many times, but my bold prediction, which is clearly wrong, absolutely objectively wrong, was that I thought that the defense was going to take a step forward this year.
Yeah. Me too.
Worst defense, like you were saying in the stadium, worst defense we've seen since 2017. It is abysmal. And you can look at our offense and say, I think they can potentially compete with some of these higher tier teams in this upcoming rest of our season. But you look at our defense and you're looking at it like, I feel like we're at rock bottom defensively right now, and it's only going to get worse. Like, there's nothing you can really do to recover from this. Like, there's no amount of coaching that's gonna fix this in a game or two. Maybe potentially in the last stretch of the season, we might see them take some sort of like step forward. But that's really saying something, because they would step forward to still below average performance wise.
Yeah.
And it was so sickening to watch it. Granted, who knows? Maybe North Dakota has a better offense than we think. Maybe Georgia Southern has a better offense than we think with Clay Helton. Maybe this Northwestern team that just lost to Duke, maybe they have a better offense and they just had a bad week, whatever. Those things still have yet to be fully written out in stone. But good God, awful, just awful.
I think Clay Helton might be a little bit better coach than a lot of people are giving him credit for. 2014, after we fired Bo Pelini, we went to the Holiday Bowl, played a Clay Helton coached USC team in the Holiday Bowl, and they beat us. Outshot. It was a shootout, much like this game was, because I don't know what it was, but our defense couldn't figure out how to stop that offense. So Helton's pretty good at scheming things up. And speaking of which, I'm just going to jump to one of the bullet points I had put in our outline for tonight. Garrett Nelson at the podium, and I had to shake my head. I was like, what? Which comes back to my comment on the defense looked unprepared, because Nelson said that Georgia Southern did nothing that they had not practiced for. But the defense had their eyes in the wrong place the whole game, is what he said. That was, in essence, his word. Our eyes were in the wrong place. Well, shoot, if you've practiced against it all week long, how in the hell are your eyes in the wrong place? Unless the coach on the other sideline figured out, hey, this is how we put their eyes in the wrong place, because this is what their tendencies are. And yeah, that's exactly what happened for 4 quarters. There was, other than 2 interceptions and 1 damn punt, one Georgia Southern punt from a Sun Belt conference, this defense had no answers.
None.
And the only reason we got those 2 INTs, the only reason we got the 2 INTs is because A, Buford's a hell of an athlete, and B, Stephon Wynn actually got a little bit of pressure, and Garrett Nelson got a little bit of pressure, but neither one of them got home. They just forced an interception. Now, I will take that. Guys constantly making a quarterback make bad decisions, but he didn't make a lot of bad decisions the other night. He didn't last night. I mean, he was 37 of 56 for 409 yards passing. That's a pretty good percentage, probably right in that 60% range, 60, 62. While Casey was about the same, 23 for 34, so good Lord. I was at a loss when we were walking out. I just kind of jokingly said to the people around me, well, there's a whole lot of defensive coaches that should be looking for a job tomorrow, because I honestly didn't think Frost should have been fired for last night. But now, looking back, yeah, he's the one that made sure that his buddies came with him from UCF. And I don't know if you caught it last night. I was up till 2:00 in the morning, not because I couldn't sleep, but because there were post-game reaction videos that I watched, live streams. One was from the Go Big Redcast, which was excellent, by the way. If you're watching us right now, please make sure you're subscribed to their YouTube channel, because they did an excellent job recapping the post-game. With Dave and Boomer on the field where they were at the pregame, and then Redcast Rob and Honky back at the hotel. And they did a great job recapping the game. And they kind of said what a lot of us were thinking. The next 2 weeks are going to be really weird. But I don't think any of us thought that the very next day Frost was going to be gone.
No.
And then, of course, Husker Online did one. They were up till 1:00 in the morning doing theirs with Sipple, Sean Callahan, and Robin Washut. And they basically said the same thing. It's only a matter of time. We know it will. We just don't know when. Well, the when happened today. What, about noon? At least that's when it came across the wire with ESPN. It probably happened 2 hours before then or more.